Welcome to another video. Today, I will be touching on, is it a good time to buy in 2023? I don't know. What do you think? All right, so John Nichols here with Coldwell Banker Realty in Denver, Colorado. Yes, I am a licensed real estate agent, and my overall goal is to provide you with information to help you make the best decision possible. Now, I know I'm going to get comments of people down below saying, well, you're a realtor, right? So it's always a good time to buy. And my honest answer, I will say, for me, my personal opinion and belief is yes. And the primary example that I would use to justify that is today's home prices are more expensive than they were 5 years ago. And if we were to pull up the data, all the statistics, look at 5 years ago, those home prices were more expensive than they were 5 years prior to that, right? So the only real evidence we have where that may not hold true is the 2008 crash. However, even when the market crashed, homes were still selling and closing every day because those who seen the crash, seen the opportunity that lied in front of them, right? So homes were still selling. Homes are always going to sell. There's always going to be buyers. There's always going to be sellers. The big thing is really paying attention to the factors and the stats and the things that are right in front of you, the data sources, letting you know if it's the right time to buy for you and your family. Every scenario is different. Everyone's at a different point in their life. So each time that question is asked of me, which is almost daily right now, I always turn it back around. Well, is it a good time for you? Do we have enough money saved? Are we in position to really make that move financially as well as like credit and things of that sort? And then what's the big reason for making that move, right? So let's say someone purchased their home just before the crash in 2008 at the peak of the market, and they had no intention of moving for the next 6 to 10 years. Well, guess what? Prices crashed. Their mortgage was locked in. It was what it was. Just because the home price value dropped, their mortgage did not change. So, what does that mean? 6 to 10 years later, their home was still worth more than it was at the peak of 2008 prior to the crash, and they came out ahead, right? So, big picture, is it a good time to buy? Personally, I'm gonna say yes, but today we're gonna go through the data, touch points focused around the Denver market area so you know if it's the right decision for you. All right, so here we are. And what we have here, we're actually taking a look at the median close price from 2019 through December of 2022. Now, our focus is it a good time to buy in 2023? So, really, what we're going to take a look at is this area here for 2022. And I'm going to walk you through what the data is showing us when it comes to making a decision to buy. So really what we see here during this time frame is this peak. This peak was our spring buying season where homes peaked out. We've seen homes with multiple offers, uh, basically gone within a day or two. That, in a sense, was the peak of the market, as you can see, since 2019. And at that moment, towards the end of that spring buying season, as we approach summer, probably around the August timeframe, we start to see rates increase. Now, why did rates increase? Well, rates increased because of inflation. That's something that we'll touch on a little later in the video. So, due to the climate inflation, we've seen mortgage rates go up. When mortgage rates went up, it pushed a lot of buyers out of the market. So those who wanted to buy a particular home in a particular neighborhood could no longer afford it. So they stepped back and they were now sidelined. So as that happened, homes continued to come to the market, but we weren't selling many homes. So what we see here is the price of homes begin to drop. And the reason they started dropping is because as homes sat on the market longer period of time, the homeowners and the agent made the decision, well, it's because of the price. rates are continuing to go up. Therefore, we got to bring prices back down to kind of keep the balance of what was going on, right? So as prices started to decline, we've seen the amount of homes increase because now we have more inventory compared to that spring season, right? So now we have more inventory. The homes are sitting longer. Rates are going up. That drove demand down. And in the real estate market, it's all about supply and demand. So because demand went down, supply started to increase. We thus see the price drop. So prices are dropping, prices are dropping. However, what you will notice is, let's say this is the bottom here. That was November. And the reason I'm pointing to this as the bottom is because if you look here at December, it's actually slightly up again. And we'll touch on that as well. But let's say we bottom out here in November. Well, if I were to draw a straight line from this point in November and see when was the last time we were this low, that's going to bring us to the prices dropped as low as they were in November of 2022. Sorry, early 2022 is the last time the prices were as low as they were in November of 2022. So if I were to go back further, what you will see is although prices are dropping, there's no other intersect here, which means your home value outside of those who purchased in this time frame, so that spring time frame, everyone else is still well ahead of their purchase price, which means they still have their home equity. They're holding on to their home equity. Now, I highlighted December here simply because, per our data source, there was an uptick. And really, what we're looking at here is we're looking at single family residents with 3 bedrooms, which is, kind of the sweet spot, right? Uptick in pricing in December. So, again, the question is, well, should I buy in 2023? Are we ready to buy? This is an indication that we may have already hit the bottom as far as pricing. Now, is it possible it can level out and then drop again? That's very much so. However, we don't have a crystal ball. We can't see the future. All we can do is take the data we have today and process it. And we'll talk a little bit about the impact of the purchase price and rates. Now, what we're going to take a look at here is inventory. How does inventory impact pricing? Well, as you recall, when we're looking at price, we touched on supply and demand. The more supply we have and the less demand, lower the prices, right? So when we looked at the peak in here of really that spring buying season, and there was a good amount of inventory. There was a good amount of homes coming to the market, but they were selling so fast that the amount of inventory was not sustainable. And part of the problem was we came into 2022 with a very, very low amount of inventory, right? So if we call this the spring buying season, this was Q1 of 2022. Inventory was already at its lowest point than any year prior, right? When we're looking at the past 3 years. So this created a scenario where supply and demand were out of whack. Demand outpaced supply by a significant amount, right? So that created the scenario where prices started skyrocketing. Obviously, we had historically low interest rates that contribute to the problem as well. So people were buying like crazy. So now we're taking a look at this and we're saying, okay, well, and the amount of inventory peaked here, right? So let's say this is the August timeframe when rates essentially were pushing towards their highest point, pushing all the buyers out of the market, right? We started to see active inventory, homes on the market climb. The last time inventory was this high over the last 3 years is looks like we're back in probably about Q3 of 2019 is the last time inventory was this high. Now, this is really important, right? Because right now we're starting to see a trend of inventory actually decrease, which, if you recall, that was the issue in early 2022 that set us up for the problem in spring. So right now we're seeing inventory actually decrease, and there's something else that's happening right now. Right now, we're actually seeing mortgage rates decrease. So now we have less inventory. And because rates are starting to drop, we are now increasing demand, which puts us in a direction of what we had last spring. So let's take a quick look at rates. All right. So what we have here now are the rates from August 2022. As we take a look here, rates bottomed out, started to skyrocket, and looks like our peak was actually in November. Since then, we've started to see this decrease in rates. So, as we talk about supply and demand and basically buying in 2023, again, what we're going to notice is as rates decrease, we're a little flat here. They've been decreasing at a slower pace. But as rates decrease, you will see more buyers come into market. You will see homes hold their prices. You will see fewer buyer concession, right? So everything right now points towards the economy improving and inflation dropping. Well, as inflation started to drop, which was here in November, guess what? Rates also drop. So what we're seeing right now is inflation and rates are really hand in hand. So mortgage rates continue to drop as long as inflation's dropping. And every economist right now is pointing to a steady decrease in inflation, which one would think would lead to a steady decrease in mortgage rates. Now, to answer your question, well, should I buy a home in 2023? I think we're still in the sweet spot for buyers right now, where a buyer can get the home they want within their budget, right? And still get sellers to give concessions, meaning the seller will give you some type of credit for closing costs, rate buy downs, or something along the lines of that. By buying now, you have the opportunity to increase that. And the beauty of buying is the rate, because as we move forward, you have the ability to refinance if that rate drops lower than your current rate. Yes, there's a cost to refinance, but would it be more beneficial for you to get a home today at, let's call it a discounted rate, right? Or sorry, at a discounted price because prices are dropping? Or do you want to continue to wait and see what happens with the rates in the markets? Maybe there's still a crash coming. We don't know. That's very possible. However, just like in 2008, those that bought at the peak locked in their mortgage, knew what their mortgage was. The crash didn't impact them. They were in their home 5 to 10 years. When they got ready to sell, they had home equity, right? So be a smart buyer, do what's best for you, and make the decision that's best for your family. My recommendation, take advantage of today's discounted pricing, and we could take a look at what we should do with the rates as things move forward. Rates going to fluctuate. However, your home price is not really changing overnight. So, to answer your question, should you buy a home in 2023? That's why you're here. You tell me. You made it to the end. Thanks for joining me on my video. Feel free to like, follow, subscribe, comment below. If you think something different's happening or you're waiting for something else, tap in, let's talk about it. But just let you know, I'm going to do what I can to bring the facts, and I'm going to bring them to you when you need them. Thanks again for staying this long. John Nichols, Colorado Realtor, 720-877-1940. Have a great day.